Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Hello. I'm seeing that I have 2 lives scheduled, someone said. Hold on, let's fix this mess. I don't think I have 2 lives scheduled. The other one's supposed to be for tomorrow. Welcome to J is for Justice, you guys. I'm checking to make sure the schedule's not screwy. Come on in and make yourselves known. Make yourselves known. I'm going to unlist the live for tomorrow. I don't know if that's screwing things up. Let me know in the chat. Do I have more than one going on? No, you're in the right spot. You are in the right spot. This is, if you're here to learn about Bryan Kohberger's effed up life, you're in the right spot, yo. Oh, what's the other one for? I am so sorry, you guys. Did I get ahead of myself? Hello, everybody. Welcome. Get cozy. I did not mean to screw you guys up today. It's Thursday. Bear with me, guys. Here I tried to do something a little different. I'm like, this is what I was going to ask you guys. Would you rather have a intro or no intro? So let me change that to tomorrow. There we go. Woo! Tomorrow is the attorney. Same time, same place. But today we're talking about Bryan. Hello. Sorry, you guys. I confused y'all. Got you playing magical chats. Everybody come on in. Because it's hot outside. Come on in. I got my Coke Zero in my lovely cup. This was made for me by Trixie, who comes into chat. Look at that. It's got all albums on it. My favorite cup ever. Cherie says, I am here. All right, well, then we can begin. Hello, loungers. Good afternoon, Punani and Meg P, Allison, Lucia, Jenny W, and the lovely Shell. Paper Chaser. Check mark. You are here. Frag, what's up? Thanks, Frag, for letting me know, by the way. Hello, hot pink jalapenos. Oh, it's just hot. It's just hot. Hello, Kiwi. All right, you guys, we've got a full show today. If we get through it all, it'll be a miracle. We've got a lot to learn about Bryan Kohberger. There's more than I thought. I was finishing this up before the live today. And there's a lot more than what I thought. There's quite a few bombshells in this live, in this podcast. So this is from episode 4. We're going to be going over episode 4 of the King Road Killings podcast. Good afternoon, Spooky and Amir. Grandmother, hello. John Gone Girl, hello. I was waiting to see you in the Gone Girl story. Carly Russell. We're going to be talking about her tomorrow with a criminal defense lawyer from New York City. So should be interesting. Jambers, what's up? I know I had 2. I'm all ahead of myself. I'm all thinking that I can do 2 lives at once. Like, let's do this shit. Just kidding. Well, come back tomorrow because we'll be talking to the lawyer tomorrow. Oh, shit. Nothing like a little teaser. Sorry about that. Thank you. Hello, Jason Riddle. I hope you're having a good day. Hello, Bum and Kristen. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's go over to the boob tube. Thank you for being here. First question. This is what I wanted to ask. Would you rather, as a viewer, have an intro where like the stream begins, or just the chat waiting? So that's what I did today, and it fucked me all up. But I'm going to change it if you guys would rather not have the live and then the music, wait, and then go live. I've got a few people in the comments saying, please get rid of the long intro. But I don't know if they realize it's not really an intro, it's a stream begin. But if it's annoying, I want to know. So put a 1 in chat if you would rather hear the music, know that the live is live, and wait. Because I chapter most of the videos now. So you can skip the intro on the replay. So if you're a replayer, check the chapters. Put a 2 if you would rather just sit here and wait, and when it goes live, you just want to go straight to the live stream. So 1, you want to hear music and wait. 2, you'd rather just have it start and begin right off the rip. So 1s and 2s. Get your votes in. I just want to see the majority, because you get a few comments here and there, but I just want to know if it's really annoying. I personally like the stream begin because you know it's going to start. You're in the live stream. Because you can chat before if it's not live. So you can still chat before. It's just a matter of when do you want the streamer to go live. Lots of 1s, don't mind waiting, but big 2s from paranormal. A lot of people don't like the intros. Elizabeth says, I need the intro as a notification. That's another reason that when we go live, those notifications sometimes don't go out right away either. So the majority of you don't mind them. So maybe shortening the time that it takes to start the stream and then keeping the chapters going. Because I think if you chapter it, when you replay, you can skip over that intro. If you don't want to hear it, you can just go to it. But I'll just make sure that I'm chaptering. I want to do what you guys enjoy. I don't want to annoy you. Like, you want someone to listen to you. You don't want them to be annoyed by you. Of course, you'd never do that for a video. Like, sit there and have people wait 5 minutes to watch a video. You know, a video, you're going to just roll right into it. Mix it up, says Miss Margaret. Thank you for your input. Punani says the outro should be the intro. She likes that song. Do you not get notifications, Kiwi? Is that why you're laughing? Well, I appreciate all the people that said we'd be here anyway. I appreciate that so much. But, you know, I want to make you guys, you know, satisfied in your listening experience. Spooky, that's so kind. How much should Brian's defense team have to pay to have someone be his alibi? Who says he's even got an alibi? That's really sweet. That's really, really sweet of you guys. But I will work on chaptering things better and keeping on that. So thank you. Thank you. Jalapeno says, who cares what we think? You're the main girl star here. We're here to hear you, which is crazy. That's why I'm like, you guys tell me what you want. Hello, Potato. Hello, jammers. Elizabeth says, if I'm doing the dishes or not staring at my screen, it lets me know you're starting. Thank you guys for the input. Now, let's go over to the boob tube and get this party started. You guys are going to be shocked at some of this stuff. Paper Chaser says, I'm late half the time, so either works for me. But the intro works for me. Thanks for your input, yo. I appreciate you guys a lot. Let's get this up. I'm liking it. I'm really liking this podcast. We're finding out so many new things, and I did work on this one, so it will be a little more interesting for your viewing pleasure as well. I aim to please. So I did put some pictures with this one. The last one was like, is it just audio? Oh my God, and audio in your face. I can't. So I was like, ugh, I'm going to have to dig up some photos and spare you. But let's get right into it. Thank you for being here. This is the King Road killings. Who is Bryan Kohberger? Part 1.
He didn't ever strike me as weird. I mean, I was a weird kid in high school, so...
Wait, hold up. Wrong one. She's gonna need more slaw in a second. Redo. That was the wrong copy. That was my raw copy. Let's try this again. Jammers, I know you're gonna love that was not the final result. You're going to love the photo that you're going to see in 2 seconds. Jammers, this is your hottie. This is your hottie, Toddy. Bryan Kohberger. As Nancy says it.
Bryan Kohberger.
Who is Bryan Kohberger? Let's find out.
He didn't ever strike me as weird. I mean, I was a weird kid in high school, so I felt like he's the same as me. We would laugh, we would talk, take walks around the neighborhood, play some games. Like, he was just another normal kid to me. There's nothing that really stood out about him. People on Facebook that went to Pleasant Valley, they have come out and said that he was very quiet, very withdrawn. I never saw that side of him.
Sure, maybe Bryan was a little awkward. Casey says he was picked on because he was overweight and that it took him a bit longer to warm up to people he didn't know very well. But she also says he was a happy kid who was fun to be around.
Around me and around my other friends, he was outgoing.
Well, you got to get the whole effect. Oh, now. This picture, though, really does trip me out. Looking at it, of them at this wedding. This is Casey Farts, Bryan's friend, on the far left, and then the wedding they were at, the little dude in the uniform, and then his wife, and then Bryan. And he's got that blank stare. Oh, Paper Chaser. True crime would not be the same without Nancy Grace.
I felt like he was safe with us, maybe in his eyes. He just felt like he could be himself.
Casey says she and the rest of Bryan's friend group were incredibly important to him and were probably among the people who knew him best at the time. The two stayed friends throughout high school, but lost touch when Casey moved out of state.
One of the last things he said to me is, I love you guys, meaning our friend group, and I will always love you guys even if we stop talking one day.
Weird.
So at the time, it was really endearing. Now it's kind of creepy.
Okay, so Casey Farts, yes, that was her name on TikTok. When she came out as Bryan's friend, her name is Casey Farts. Yes, it's Arntz, but her name on TikTok was Casey Farts. Fartz.
On December 30th, 2022, Bryan Kohberger, a 28-year-old PhD student in criminology, was arrested and charged with the murders of Madison Mogen, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, and Kaylee Gonzalez, the 4 University of Idaho students who were found stabbed to death inside their King Road home. We found another online account that ABC has confirmed to be Bryan's, a SoundCloud account.
Okay, first bombshell. You may have heard this early on. I heard it existed, but I've never heard it with my ears. And yeah. Are you ready for this? ABC confirmed the SoundCloud account is Bryan Kohberger.
Bryan Kohberger.
Are you ready for the Kohberger rap? Give me a 1 in chat if you're ready to hear the Kohberger rap. Ready? Let's do it. You ready, Paper Chaser? You might want to send him a contract to sign on to your record label. This is confirmed to be
Bryan Kohberger.
Where in September of 2011, he posted a single track, an angsty rap song called Rise Up.
Rise up.
Always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right. Procrastinating, mind arranged to change would be a fight. So I'm pacifist, like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Look at this, my mind is pissed, and I keep running. Why is this?
Eventually, Bryan seemed to find a solution that helped deal with his visual snow.
Okay, wait. We have to play that again. Kohberger's SoundCloud rap. His single track. You heard it here.
Always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right. Procrastinating, mind arranged to change would be a fight. So I'm pacifist, like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Look at this, my mind is pissed, and I keep running. Why is this?
Eventually, Bryan seemed to find a solution that helped deal with his visual snow. A very specific diet that involved cutting out grains, sugars, and yeast. He followed this diet to the letter and excitedly shared his progress on Tapatalk in the hopes of helping others curb their own symptoms.
What do you guys think? What? Okay, so he posted on Tapatalk, which is like a message board, that he had this syndrome called visual snow. I have a video up about it. It's like where you see, like a old school TV, like the snow. That's what you see in your eyes. Dumpster juice. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's if he didn't murder these 4 students, I would feel bad for him. That's how pitiful this guy is. This guy is so pitiful that if he wasn't a murderer, I'd feel bad for him. One more time. Play it one more time, maestro.
Always the same thing that disrupts my life. Wonder when I'll change. I guess when the time is right. Procrastinating, mind arranged to change would be a fight. So I'm pacifist, like I'm afraid to get a bloody fist. Look at this, my mind is pissed, and I keep running. Why is this?
Eventually, Bryan seemed to find a solution that helped deal with his visual snow. A very specific diet that involved cutting out grains, sugars, and yeast. He followed this diet to the letter and excitedly shared his progress on Tapatalk in the hopes of helping others curb their own symptoms. Around this time, those who knew Bryan noticed a dramatic change in his appearance.
Here's Casey again.
In Bryan's senior year, he did lose all the weight. He came back and he looked really thin, a lot different. It was kind of surprising for a lot of people.
His rapid weight loss could be linked to several things: his new diet or a change in his workout regimen.
He did kickboxing. I found out he was doing night runs with an old friend of mine.
ABC News spoke with his old boxing coach, who remembered a teenage Kohberger coming into the gym nearly every day in high school. According to the coach, Kohberger's dad brought him in to, quote, get Bryan out, get him more social.
His dad. Yet again, his dad. Hey, Robin, I guess it's the thing to do. It's the thing to do. Hello, Harlot. Harwit.
And get involved with other people. The coach added, Bryan's dad was worried his son didn't have a lot of other opportunities to socialize or build self-esteem and strength. Over time, the coach said he saw Kohberger gain confidence. He said he worked hard to achieve his goals and seemed to feel more accepted at the gym. But around this time, friends of his tell us that Bryan also started using heroin. Casey says he would ask her for rides that she later found out were to buy drugs.
Bryan used me to, drive him around and get heroin, and I didn't know. He then told me he was in rehab. A lot of people are like, well, why were you still friends with him after that? And I'm like, because you got to forgive him. I mean, you can't fault him for being so sucked down this hole. And I did forgive him. We talked after that. This was I think when he used me was in 2013, and we still talked for a good year after that.
The drug use coincided with a major shift in personality that really affected Kohberger's relationships. I reported on some of this when I was out in Pennsylvania, talking with anyone I could find who knew him.
Tonight, Bryan Kohberger's childhood friend Thomas speaking to ABC News, describing the Idaho murder suspect as mean.
Okay, so before we get to Thomas, Thomas is Casey Fart's girlfriend. Or I mean sister. Got it. Not girlfriend. Sister. So Thomas Farts and Casey Farts. Hey, Mike. So here, if you note that he's using his right hand, and we remember he signed the things when he was arrested with his left hand. So I think he either is effing around or he can write with both hands, maybe. Or maybe his hands hurt and he couldn't use the right one when he had to sign. I don't know. But why is he using both hands? He's not that special. Procrastination, my deranged. To change would be a fight. I keep on running. Yeah. He didn't run far enough. He didn't run far enough, in my opinion. And just in case you forgot, here's his hands. Those are the hands that he used to sign those papers. I just thought that was interesting. I was like, wait a minute. He signed his arrest paperwork with his left hand. He might be ambidextrous, or he might just be a creep burger. Because I definitely would not sign my name with anything but my right hand. I don't know what he's up to, but he's a trickster. Bryan Kohberger is a trickster.
High school, saying Bryan was eager to be seen as dominant.
He would just put me in, he would grapple me and put me in headlocks and arm bars and stuff like that.
Sounds like
Thomas
a dick.
Arntz is Casey's.
You're going to find out. This is a Bombshell podcast episode. You're going to find out that Bryan Kohberger was a dick. And if you want to say otherwise, no one has come out except for Casey Farts to say otherwise. No one has spoke out. You got to keep this in mind. No one has spoke out on his behalf. Yeah, he got barrel rushed, a.k.a. grappled.
Headlocks and arm bars and stuff like that.
Thomas Arntz is Casey's brother, and he was Bryan Kohberger's classmate.
Bryan would gaslight my brother a lot when they argued. He would put my brother into headlocks to the point where my brother just got so tired and fed up with it that he stopped being friends with him in 2015, I think he said he was. He just had to cut him out.
Bryan Kohberger and Thomas Arntz graduated from high school in the spring of 2013.
Can you imagine having to end a friendship because your friend won't stop trying to grapple you? What the fuck? I mean, end the friendship? Because he couldn't stop grappling him? It's kind of like, hey, I had a great time on this date with you. By the way, your hips look like you could pop out about 10 kids easily.
And their friendship ended 2 years later. By this time, Bryan and Casey had already lost touch. Dominic Scheld is just a few years older than Kohberger. Although the two were never close friends, for a while they ran in the same circles, attending many of the same parties in high school.
You ran into him in some of these drug circles when he would have been about 17?
Yep.
And what kind of drugs were you using?
Heroin.
Dom, as he likes to be called, is also in recovery and has been sober for many years now.
And is that what he would have been using also?
Most likely. If he was in that scene with us, then yeah.
And how do you remember him at those parties?
Withdrawn, kept to himself. He would, interact with whoever he was sitting on the couch with or sitting on the sidelines with.
So you wouldn't describe him as a loner at that point?
No, not a loner. He did have friends. He was at these parties with people. He didn't come alone. He normally came with other people. But he was very just on the outside. Wasn't involved in the social, playing pool, listening to music, dancing, talking. He was more just quiet and kept to himself.
We know from court documents that Kohberger went through treatment for drug abuse, and he seemed to turn a corner. He had big aspirations for himself professionally. He picked back up on an earlier interest in protecting his community and pursuing a career in law enforcement. Here's Casey again.
Oh. I don't remember what I said. We'll have to get back. I said, oh, congrats to Dom. I said, yes, that was a friend that he used to do drugs with, and his friend is now in recovery. And I said, much props to Dom for his recovery. We're good. We're good. If I'm ever muted, just do ! muted. But we're back. I just was muted.
I think he just kind of wanted to understand other people's minds. Maybe he wanted to find a way to get justice for people.
A yearbook.
Okay. I think she's doing wishful thinking here, that he wanted to help people. I don't know what Bryan wanted to do, but in the background here, you'll see behind them is a picture, or behind her face is a picture of Bryan sitting at the table at the wedding. I'm going to make it bigger so you guys can see. That's him with like the phone in his hand or whatever he's doing. Thank you, Jose. Look at those. Earth to J. Earth to J.
Photo taken in his sophomore year of high school shows him doing push-ups with a group of other young men as part of a law enforcement prep class. The caption mentions that he wants to serve in the Army Rangers, a special operations branch of the U.S. military. Kohberger graduated from Pleasant Valley High School in 2013, and after working at a couple of customer service jobs, he applied for a security guard position with the school district. According to Fox News, Kohberger listed his year of law enforcement training on the application, adding, "I box after school every day, and I'm still a runner. I believe dedication and perseverance are the most important skills learned from my activities. I lost 130 pounds at age 15 into 16 whilst attending school at PVHS. I believe this is proof that I have the required dedication to be successful." Kohberger was hired by the school district in 2016, where he worked his way up from casual to part-time security guard.
Okay, so that is the end of the first clip. What do you guys think? Allegedly with Brittany J. What's up? No, it's not just you. The many faces, that's why I made the thumbnail like I did, because Bryan Kohberger has so many different looks. BC, thank you so much for following. Well, I mean, when you have someone who has drastic weight change, they're also, they are doing drugs. During their drug time, they're going to look different. After they're recovered, they're going to look different. They're never going to look the same. So he's gone through a lot of things that, he was big and then he was small and then he was on drugs and then he wasn't. And then he got arrested for murder. I mean, those are all pretty big things to, change the way you appear to look. He would have been a scary operative, says Robin. No kidding. He's a chameleon. I see that. Yeah, it is bizarre. It's very bizarre. But if, and we look at a lot of people, serial killers that have different looks to them. My dog is a total mood right now. Look at Summer Lou right now. Tomorrow at 3 p.m.
The lawyers.
On Live with Me, New York City criminal defense attorney. Bring your questions. Let's get part 2 going. You guys up for part 2? We're going to get through it. Welcome, Brittany. Brittany just joined the lounge. Everybody give her a warm welcome.
Or is it a cigar?
And I believe that Brittany has a channel. Check out Brittany's channel. Go ahead and put her link up in the chat, mods. Thank you for your support, Britt. It is much, much appreciated. All right, here we get into part 2. The pictures are random. Doesn't kind of go with the story like the first one did, but what is in this segment is mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Be prepared. Bombshells ahead. And I'm not fucking kidding. This is not clickbait. I could have clickbaited this video like a motherfucker. There's so many bombshells. You guys ready for it?
As a teaching assistant, the fellow PhD student we spoke with told us Kohberger held his office hours at unusual times.
Creepburger.
Sometimes late into the evening, rather than the more typical daytime hours. She began sticking around after some of her students complained that he would make them feel uncomfortable during their meetings. Students alleged Kohberger closed the door, which is against protocol, or placed himself between the student and the exit so they felt compelled to stay in his office.
No.
Kohberger also developed a reputation for being a tough grader, sometimes to the point of frustrating his students. Hayden, the student we spoke to, recalls one incident that seemed to leave everyone involved, even Kohberger himself, feeling uneasy.
All right, so this is one of his students. And I just think it's so interesting that no one besides Casey has come out on his behalf. But we have people now that he's been arrested coming out, students of his coming out saying these stories and using their first and last names. There's a girl that this podcaster talks to as well.
We had a midterm exam that a lot of people thought was graded unfairly. So we as a class had like a day where we went in and we were all essentially allowed to just like debate him about our grades and try and like earn points back. But, was a thing where he argued back. And so we were sort of in this weird like debate for the whole class, 50 of us against one of him. And he was having to field all these questions. But Bryan didn't seem super comfortable. And honestly, none of us were like super comfortable. It was a weird vibe. That was like a turning point, I think. For us, we felt like when we did that, our grades got better.
Wait, what?
Bryan Kohberger. What I have to say to Ann C. Taylor, the defense lawyer.
Bring it on, woman. She gonna need to bring it on because this Creepburger. How bizarre is that?
So is that a joint?
Thank you, Brittany, for joining the lounge.
Or is it a cigar?
How creepy is that? He had his students debate with him. Can you imagine the tension in that room? So he probably loved arguing with them.
In addition to pursuing his doctorate, Kohberger seemed eager to gain on-the-job experience in criminal justice. Court documents show in the fall of 2022, he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department. In his application essay, he wrote that he wanted to assist rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. We don't know if he got that internship, but we can hear his eagerness to discuss the law with a WSU officer when she pulled him over for a minor moving violation around the same time.
I think you know why I stopped you. You ran the red light.
What actually happened was I was stuck in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah,
so I was
behind you the whole time.
Yeah, I was behind you the whole time. Like, I don't give a fuck. I saw what you did. I saw you run the red light. No big deal. So we reported earlier in an earlier coverage of this ABC King Road Killing podcast, she was in the courtroom. This woman talking was in the courtroom. She watched him sign it with his left hand.
Kohberger didn't quite argue with the cop. It was almost like he was trying to explain his way out of a ticket or wear the officer down.
Explain that to me a little bit further. So in Pennsylvania, when you're stuck like in their intersection, you have to make the left. So
He'd done something pretty basic. He was in the middle of an intersection when the light turned red, and he kept going. So he ran a red light. But he asked the cop for information on the law he'd broken, claiming he's new to the state.
to me that was actually something wrong, but well, except for the fact that I was blocking. I'm actually just from a very rural area, so we just don't have crosswalks. Unless I visit an area where there are crosswalks, and then it's not very frequent. I
He's so annoying. Unless I visit where there's crosswalks.
Apologize if I was asking.
While it's easy to look at these recollections and instances in an unfavorable light given the circumstances, these are only snapshots, now viewed through the lens of the charges against Kohberger. Kohberger was only a few months into a cross-country move surrounded by all new people and seemingly struggling at school. Less than 2 months into the program, Kohberger's standing as a TA began to go south.
All right, this is where it gets good.
According to an article by the New York Times, on September 23rd, Kohberger was involved in a so-called altercation with the male professor he was hired to support. We don't know what kind of altercation, but when he met with university higher-ups to discuss the situation, they told him that his work wasn't meeting expectations and created an improvement plan. Hayden, the student in his class, recalls that in late November, a few weeks before the end of the semester, Kohberger seemed to loosen up, both in terms of appearance and his grading.
So we're going to hear again from Hayden. But what do you guys think of that part?
A few weeks before the end of the semester, Kohberger seemed to loosen up.
So he had an altercation in September. And he was put on an improvement plan. Can you imagine?
Bryan Kohberger.
On an improvement plan? I don't think Bryan Kohberger, excuse me, ever thought that he needed improvement. I think that Bryan Kohberger thought that he never would need improvement. Can you imagine what that made him feel like? Knowing what we know now? And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Now, mind you, he just started this gig in August. This is obviously someone who can't hold anything down right. I mean, he was only doing this for a month, a little over a month, and he's already being reprimanded and arguing with people. Maybe he should have kept running and kickboxing and making raps and getting his aggressions out that way.
Or like the last time he came was probably a couple weeks before the class ended. Physically, I remember he looked a little bit more disheveled. He had like some stubble coming on. His hair was a little, messed up or whatever. Nothing like crazy, but enough that I remember seeing him and thinking like, oh man, finals must be really getting to him or something like that. What happened is he started giving everyone just like high marks and not leaving any notes. Our midterm was right at the end of September, the start of October. And then we didn't have any other like graded and marked up assignments until early December.
In hindsight, Hayden now wonders about the shift in his TA's behavior. The murders Kohberger has been charged with happened on November 13th. And according to the Bryan tally, the Monday after the murders, Kohberger missed class.
Okay, the Bryan tally. So Bryan had some problems with some students who started keeping tabs on all the creepy things he did. The Bryan tallies was what got him in trouble with his professor that he was working under. That's what got him in trouble, because he was inappropriate. He was making people feel uncomfortable to the point where they went to higher ups on him. So this guy wasn't just pulled out from nowhere and accused of a murder. This guy was creep burgering people out prior to the murders.
On December 9th, a New York Times article states Kohberger had another altercation with a professor he TA'd for, and 2 days later, university faculty reached out to Kohberger to schedule a meeting about the incident.
You in trouble, Brian?
And discuss his standing in the PhD program. The PhD students I spoke with confirmed Kohberger lost his job as a TA. That meant he would lose his tuition waiver, his stipend, and his medical insurance
Lose
too.
it all. So Bryan Kohberger lost his job. I don't think he had any plans to go back to Washington. But I think that his dad was clueless. Because when they get pulled over, the dad is like, oh, we're coming from Washington State University. My son's a criminology PhD student.
At the end of the semester, Bryan's father flew across the country from Pennsylvania to meet up with his son. The two would drive back to the Poconos together. By December 13th, their drive was underway. They took Bryan's white Hyundai Elantra.
Not the Elantra.
Okay.
It's an interesting thing for Kohberger's dad to say to the cop, given his son's troubles at the university. But even more strange, 9 minutes after the first traffic stop, executed by the local sheriff's department, Kohberger was pulled over for tailgating again. This time by the Indiana State Police. He wasn't ticketed either time, and law enforcement sources tell me these were just traffic stops, nothing related to the murder investigation.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that those were just random 9 minutes apart from each other traffic stops for tailgating twice in 9 minutes? The first cop that pulled him over was, I think, a county, and then the second time it was state, or vice versa. But the FBI says we were not tailing him. But now listen to the next part.
Although Moscow PD had released the detail about searching for the white Elantra just days before, on December 7th, Indiana authorities would have no way of knowing if the vehicle they pulled over was under investigation. And sources have long maintained the FBI was not tailing them.
I think that's because they don't want to give away their tactics, no matter what. The FBI is never going to disclose tactics. Sinead, I don't know what you're talking about. Agree to what? We're listening to a podcast about Bryan Kohberger's life. I don't know what there's to agree or disagree with. We're listening to facts about his life. We're listening to people who had interactions with him. We're listening to people who went to school with him. We're listening to people that he taught. I don't know what there is to agree or disagree with. We don't have all the evidence, so we can't really argue with each other about his guilt or innocence. We can just we can just talk about what we have. No disagreeing or agreeing in this. But at any rate,
Kohberger and his dad arrived home in Pennsylvania sometime around December 16th. Right after Christmas, while Kohberger stayed at his parents' house, the FBI began closing in. On December 20th...
See, that's where it contradicts, where I know... I'm not going to say I know for a fact. I think the FBI was definitely tailing him. I don't think the FBI is ever going to say they were tailing him, because these are tactics that they need to keep, that people don't know, right? Obviously. I mean, it's common sense. But then she says the FBI was closing in. What do you mean closing in? If they weren't following him on December 15th or whatever day he got pulled over, they're closing in a few days later? That doesn't make sense. So clearly they were following him. Because you don't close in on something you weren't following. Right? So can we agree to disagree that they were probably tailing him? And they're never going to confirm that.
His dad arrived home in Pennsylvania sometime around December 16th. Right after Christmas, while Kohberger stayed at his parents' house, the FBI began closing in. On December 26th, a special emergency response team encircled the house. The FBI believed the white Elantra seen outside the King Road house on the night of the murders was his. While the family home was under surveillance in late December, the FBI obtained samples of the family's DNA from garbage bags discarded outside the house. Samples they would later use to connect Kohberger's DNA to the knife sheath found at the crime scene. After nearly 4 days of surveillance, at 4:35 in the afternoon on December 29th, law enforcement obtained a search warrant for the Kohberger household.
Uh-oh.
9 hours later,
Bryan
on December 30th,
Kohberger.
at 1:30 in the morning, police raided the Kohberger family home. They apprehended Bryan Kohberger, thoroughly searched the house, and seized items they believed might be evidence. My law enforcement sources tell me that at the time of the arrest, Kohberger was wearing gloves, and they believed he'd been sorting trash. They arrested him as he was running down the stairs toward his bedroom in the basement.
Can you picture Bryan Kohberger in gloves? Go into my room! Yeah, I agree. I just don't think, I think it's a big deal because we can't know everything that they do and how they do it and why they do it. We need the FBI and authorities to have some tactics that we don't know they're using and that the bad guys don't know they're using. Where was the trash he threw out after cleaning his car at his parents? I don't know. Let's rewind that part and listen again. Remember, we did hear the sister was sus because he was wearing gloves. And because he had hands like this. She must have saw those babies and was like, holy hell.
At least the lawyers
Believed might be evidence.
His jammies.
My law enforcement sources tell me that at the time of the arrest, Kohberger was wearing gloves, and they believed he'd been sorting trash. They arrested him as he was running down the stairs toward his bedroom in the basement.
Running down the stairs.
At this exact time, I was on my way. Kohberger was taken to the Monroe County Jail.
Here it is.
While he was there, he signed a document from Washington State University acknowledging he'd been informed that if he returned to the WSU campus, he'd be charged with criminal trespassing.
Done. So they had sent him a letter. You come back, you will be arrested for criminal trespassing.
Meanwhile, police searched his apartment in Pullman. Authorities said they seized possible hair samples, including one they believed to be from an animal, a disposable black glove, a computer tower, and samples from a reddish-brown stain on an uncovered pillow that was tested presumptive positive for blood.
Uh-oh. So are we going to believe that there's no DNA evidence other than the knife sheath? Do you believe that? Put a 1 in chat if you think the only DNA that exists in this case is on a knife sheath. Put a 2 if you think there's more. Put a 2 if you think there's more. Let's rewind that. See, you guys? Just relax. Let's listen again.
Informed that if he returned to the WSU campus, he'd be charged with criminal trespassing.
In other words, we don't want you back, motherfucker. So a dog hair, they found hairs. One could be an animal hair and blood. So I am under the impression that blood, it has DNA. Blood is DNA evidence, correct? I forgot the question I asked. All I see is twos. What did I ask again? For crying out shits. See, we got so much info at one time, we didn't slow down. There is the DNA, yes. Way more DNA. Way more DNA. There's people, you guys, there's people following this case that thinks there was no DNA anywhere. They think that they found no DNA anywhere, but you're going to be shocked at this next segment.
Meanwhile, police searched his apartment in Pullman. Authorities said they seized possible hair samples, including one they believed to be from an animal, a disposable black glove, a computer tower, and samples from a reddish-brown stain on an uncovered pillow that was tested presumptive positive for blood. They have reported him. We do know that his father reported him once before, in new details exclusive to this podcast.
All right, now we're getting to the bombshell stuff. It could be Murphy the dogs. Yep. I mean, an animal hair? As far as we know, he didn't have any animals. Hell yeah, Brittany. Over and over sometimes, because you never know what you're going to pick up.
ABC News has reviewed records showing that 9 years before his arrest for the Idaho murders, Kohberger was arrested in Pennsylvania and charged with theft. Home from rehab, Kohberger took his sister Melissa's iPhone, which had an estimated value of $400. That's what Michael Kohberger told police, according to the records.
Michael.
Authorities say Kohberger paid a friend $20 to pick him up and take him to a local mall where he sold the phone for $200 at an unmanned kiosk for used electronics. Kohberger was charged with misdemeanor theft. He did not serve any jail time, and there is now no public record of the arrest or the outcome of the case.
For donuts?
Wait for it, there's more.
Him in our next episode. Their son was charged with the force to pick him up and take him to a local mall where he sold the phone for $200.
Oops, I messed up here.
Testimony can be shared with prosecutors.
Here we go. Listen to this. We got confirmation. Listen.
For $200.
Listen to this part. Confirmation that the parents went in front of a freaking grand jury. Amaka face.
After their son was charged with the 4 Idaho murders, Kohberger's parents were subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury in Pennsylvania. Information gleaned from their testimony can be shared with prosecutors in Idaho. The lawyer currently representing Kohberger's parents had no comment about the details surrounding his prior arrest.
Dude, his parents have a lawyer and they did testify in front of a grand jury. What the fuck? Excuse me. What is going on here? Do you think he had something to do with that murder they were investigating? Because she just confirmed that they did go in front of, the grand jury. I'm out of my water. Yes, so they did, and they have a lawyer.
Murders. Though there's been tons of internet and media speculation, in our reporting, we haven't found any link between Kohberger and the victims, including on social media.
Okay, that was a bomb for me too. That ABC is confirming in their research that they have not discovered any connection between Kohberger and the victims, even on social media. What do you make of that? It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but ABC is saying that it could be, Brittany, that his sister was the one that tipped him off. Let's play that part again about that.
From Washington State University, acknowledging he'd been informed that if he returned to...
You're right, Sinead. He's innocent until proven guilty. But this isn't a court. This is a podcast. So that's why we're able to talk about it like this.
Showing that 9 years before his arrest for the Idaho murders, Kohberger was arrested in Pennsylvania and charged with theft. Home from rehab, Kohberger took his sister Melissa's iPhone, which had an estimated value of $400. That's what Michael Kohberger told police, according to the records. Authorities say Kohberger paid a friend $20 to pick him up and take him to a local mall where he sold the phone for $200 at an unmanned kiosk for used electronics. Kohberger was charged with misdemeanor theft. He did not serve any jail time, and there is now no public record of the arrest or the outcome of the case. Him in our next episode. Their son was charged with the force to pick him up and take him to a local mall where he sold the phone for $200.
Here we go.
After their son was charged with the 4 Idaho murders, Kohberger's parents were subpoenaed to testify before a grand jury in Pennsylvania. Information gleaned from their testimony can be shared with prosecutors in Idaho. The lawyer currently representing Kohberger's parents had no comment about the details surrounding his prior arrest. Kohberger's murders. Though there's been tons of internet and media speculation, in our reporting, we haven't found any link between Kohberger and the victims, including on social media.
Okay, so there you have it. There it is again. What's up? Hey, Cheryl, Auntie Cheryl. Yes, absolutely. This is not a court of law, so we can talk about everything here because we're not jurors, so it's awesome. So what do you guys think of that? His parents going in front of a grand jury have confirmation right there. The sister didn't call the cops on him. His father did, and probably because his father had it, right? He just put his kid in jail, he just put his kid in rehab for heroin use. He's been trying, this Michael Kohberger has been trying to get his kid involved in shit. He took him to kickboxing. He took him to class after class to try to get this kid to do something normal, and he couldn't get him to do anything normal. Then he finally goes off to college and he graduates. I'm sure Michael Kohberger was ecstatic. And then he goes to drive home with him, has no idea the dude's been fired because he fucked that up too. So Bryan Kohberger's dad's all happy and excited. Hey, he's a PhD student. Like, this is my boy. And then all this happens. But Michael Kohberger, he's got this boy that comes home from rehab, and then he steals his daughter's, his older sister's phone and sells it. So, like, if I was Michael Kohberger, I'd do the same shit. I'd be like, look, dude, I don't know what to do with you. Like, it's bad enough that you did drugs. We put you in rehab. Now you're home. Now you're stealing from your sister. You have to protect the children that are in that home. CEO, where the hell have you been? Yikes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to protect that other child or children that are living in that home. He comes back a heroin user from rehab and he's stealing from his sister. I say props to Michael Kohberger for filing the police report like he did. I have newfound respect because I think Michael Kohberger tried to do everything he could as far as, trying to help his boy. But they did mention the dad potato. He was crying as well. Michael was not mad. He was crying too. They did say that. I think dad was fed up. What do you mean working? You've been missing for months. I think I got demonetized and CEO said, whatever.
I think you've got
a Ouija down your pants.
You're going to pull that out.
Yeah, I think his dad was trying to help. And how frustrating, and look at what he ended up doing, allegedly. But that's proof right there that he wasn't coddled. If he was but the mom didn't do it, so I don't know what the mom felt about that. Mom might have been a little more soft, but Michael Kohberger was definitely not feeling the stealing of his sister's phone and did something about it. I mean, what more can you do? And I'm sure they were like, oh my God, thank God when he moved away. You know, like he's out on his own. He's independent. Maybe now we can breathe.
Kohberger's defense team stated, there is no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. There is no explanation for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office,
That's from the defense.
home, or vehicle.
No, it was their Potato. I missed it the first time and then we replayed it. So this is the defense's motion she's talking about. Listen again.
In our reporting, we haven't found any link between Kohberger and the victims.
I'm so thirsty. I gotta get more water.
There is no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. There is no explanation for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle.
So we don't know that. See, the defense, this is another Kohberger tactic. Defense tactic. They want you, the potential jury pool, the general public, to think that there's no other DNA. They want you going into this thinking there's no other DNA because you're hearing all of these facts from podcasts like this. So they're countering that with these kinds of statements, which aren't necessarily untrue because we can't prove them to be untrue until the trial. We won't know all the evidence until there's trial. I appreciate that, CEO. I'm just giving you a hard time.
You know what I have to say to A.N.C. Taylor, the defense lawyer? Bring it on, woman.
Thank you, guys. I was your first. I popped your membership cherries. I feel so blessed. Kiwi wants to know, do you think one of the IDs found in a glove box had the address of 1122 King Road on it? I think it's very possible. Sinead, I hope this never happens to you or yours. Happens, what happens? My reasoning is valid. Your reasoning for what? And I know we will find out the truth, but thanks for that butt kick. I don't feel like I don't know who gave you a butt kick, but this is just a discussion. No one's kicking your butt.
Bueller.
Well, we got through both parts. What do you guys think? I think that there were several bombshells in this, and I'm going to have to break it down and make some shorts, make some quickies for the ones that replay. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a few things in here that we haven't heard. Quite a few things in here that are validated that we, just heard through people. So, through videos and whatnot. But ABC confirms the information that they put in this podcast, and I feel very, very comfortable sharing this information with you guys as not straight facts, but I think it's as close to the truth as we're going to get at this juncture. There was a lot. There's like a lot of little pieces in this. So replay it. Let me know in the comment section below. I may have missed something while playing this. There's so much, and I have to break it up for you guys. I can't just lay it out there. But if you want to listen to the whole episode, check it out. It is on Spotify. It is also on Apple and on ABC website. I don't know. I have to find Creeptown, dude. I got to find it, Paper Chaser.
So is that a joint? Or is it a cigar?
I'm so glad, and welcome the new members. We got some new subscribers as well. Let's go through the subscribers, shall we? Was the alert box working? We've got Diva.
You're awesome.
We've got Philip Betts and Brittany Thiel. Thank you for subscribing. And Brittany Thiel became a member. And allegedly with Brittany J became a member. And Carrie H last night was our newest Patreon. And then we also have another Patreon, Blair. Let me see if I can find Creeptown, dude. I don't know if I've got it still, guys. We had so much fun in our Patreon live last night. We had the most people in the Patreon live last night that we've ever had. And it was so exciting. It was really chill. We just chatted and I really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys did too that were there and replayed it as well. Headphones, you are not new. I think that they also have, yeah, I know, I got to find Creep Town, dude. I will. I'll find it. Let me make a note. Anything else? Anything else? Did we decide that we don't care if the music plays before the live? We do need Creep Town. And someone else said they wanted a Kohberger emoji. Do you guys want a Kohberger emoji? What else y'all want? Tomorrow's live is going to be absolutely bananas. We are going to be unleashing the lawyers right here on J is for Justice. It's going to be bananas.
Unleash the lawyers.
So tomorrow, join me 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mr. Dimitri is going to join me at 3 o'clock. I use YouTube, Britt. I know, Pat Gordon. That's another good point. On the PCA from Pennsylvania, the very first item that they confiscated is a knife. Do you guys want the BK emoji of this? Check it. This is the one. Okay, if you say you want a BK emoji, you won't lose a testicle, but you're getting this picture.
If you say Ferris Bueller, you lose a testicle.
As a teaching assistant,
picture right here is
the fellow
gonna be the
PhD
emoji.
student we spoke with told us Kohberger held his
we
office
need a
hours
banana,
at
too.
unusual times, sometimes late into the evening, rather than the more typical daytime hours. She began sticking around after some of her students complained that he would make them feel uncomfortable during their meetings. Students alleged Kohberger closed the door,
Blowburger.
which is against protocol, or placed himself between the student and the exit, so they
Yes,
felt
his name is
compelled to
Dimitri.
stay in
I don't
his
know
office.
him. I don't know him.
Kohberger
He's a
also
criminal
developed a
defense
reputation
lawyer
for being a tough
from
grader,
New York City.
sometimes to
He's
the
right in
point
downtown
of frustrating
New York
his
City.
students.
An
Hayden,
emoji of
the
his
student we
hand.
spoke to, recalls one incident that seemed to leave
That's
everyone
hilarious.
involved, even Kohberger himself, feeling uneasy.
We had a midterm exam that a lot of people thought was graded unfairly.
Yeah, because
so we
you
as
know
a
how
class
he's
had like a
following
day
the
where we went
stats
in and we
online.
were all
Like, we don't want
essentially
him
allowed to just like
to
debate
find out
him
that he
about our
has
grades
emojis out
and
there.
try and like earn
Wait,
points
is
back.
that
But
playing?
you know, it was a thing where he argued back, and so we were sort of in this weird like debate for the whole
Jesus.
class.
Why didn't you guys tell me I had 2 things going at once? For crying out shits. An emoji of his hands. I've got it. Dimitri is the lawyer. Unleash the frickin' lawyers tomorrow, okay? We're unleashing the lawyers on Jays for Justice.
Unleash the lawyers.
New York City defense attorney joining me live. We're going to talk about Carly Russell and what kind of shiz she could have herself in. What's up, KK? Conspiracy Caveman. Hey. What's FAF? My pen. Jennifer. Jennifer is out. Thanks, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. We're going to unleash the motherfucking lawyers. Bring it on.
Why are people such idiots?
You don't like the hands? Why? Well, just in case you forgot, there's his hands. See you guys tomorrow. Be sure to check out my other videos and playlists for more true crime content. And if that's not enough, you can join our Patreon. Don't have a tinfoil hat? It's okay. We'll make you one. It's that easy. See you guys in the next video.
See you later. Bye.
Bryan Kohberger.
I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't
Roro causing Papa.
Roro. Who was Roro?
I have heard enough about got you and your problems.
Papa.
Give it that. You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to friends, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time, I ain't got time, I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. Calling my phone, ain't nobody got time for that. I'll never call you back.
Hi, Jennifer. Is it one Jennifer or two Jennifers?
Thanks so much, Jennifer.